My relationship with BGU actually started when I was around 10, 12. And actually remember when I was in my fifth or sixth grade, I had a girlfriend that decided that she's going to Noar Shocher Mada. It's for a program for kids, and I decided that I want to spend time with her. And that was my first interaction.
In my undergraduate project, when I started doing actual research and not just taking classes, I fell in love with research. So I applied for a master's degree, and after I finished the master's degree, I applied for a PhD.
I started my study here at Ben-Gurion University. My first degree was in the medical laboratory. And after I graduated my first degree, I moved to do the second degree here in the Faculty of Health Sciences, and eventually I decided to do my PhD.
From the beginning of the PhD, I knew that this is something I want to do for the rest of my life, and this is something that suited me. I knew that this is the dream. I wanted to have a postdoc in Cambridge. Professionally, I had the chance to meet people from all over the world, researchers, postdoc, and students. It was a really, really good experience for me. I realized that I can dream really big and everything is open.
During my PhD, I submitted an application for a fellowship at Chateaubriand, collaboration with France, and I spent a year at the Pasteur Institute. After finishing my PhD, I decided to go for a postdoc. And then after almost 2 years, I moved to the second postdoc. And it was an amazing experience for me. I studied from tumor biology to cancer therapeutics and cancer genomics. And now I'm merging the entire expertise from immunology to cancer therapeutics here at the Ben-Gurion University.
Ben-Gurion was my first choice when I applied to come back. I actually started to establish the lab. We started working on the research project that we have now. I've been here for 11 years through all my degrees, and it just felt the natural thing to do for me.
After my post-graduation, I had the option to stay in the United States as well as to come back to Israel for several universities. And eventually, after discussion with my wife, we decided that we should back to the Negev, to the place where we grew up, try to be chalutz, like pioneer, and to try to promote the suburb. I opened my lab, and from there I needed to start everything from scratch. My first interaction with head and neck cancer started around 2014. Over the years, I discovered that this community and the research of head and neck is quite interesting because the head and neck cancer, it's quite a heterogeneous disease. Because of the disease is quite heterogeneous, it's provided us almost endless opportunities for research, for early diagnostics and therapeutics. And in the lab, we are focuses on how therapy affects the interaction between the tumor cells and the microenvironment. To do that, what we are primarily focused is on developing preclinical models that enable us to ask those scientific questions.
I think my biggest success now is actually to establish the lab, because I came here in the peak of COVID and everything was very difficult. It's difficult to establish a new lab, and with COVID it had extra challenges, but I'm really happy that the lab is working now, and after 2.5 years we have running projects, and hopefully soon we'll have results to publish. What we are doing here in two levels. One of them is more of a basic science, and the other one is more applicative for patients that are having surgery now. In the lab, we are working with a variety of materials, and we develop advanced biomaterials for healthcare applications. And we are working from bone grafts, which are based on metals and composites, to bioinks, which are hydrogels, which are based on organic materials. And we're trying to make skin patches for people with burns, and also we're trying to create some sort of bone tissue. Hopefully in the future, we'll be able to do that. We're thinking ahead. So we're seeing what we have today, and we're thinking, okay, we want to improve what we have today. So I think we're thinking about the next 5 to 10 years, what will be a good idea and how we can improve what they have now.
The people that work in my lab are primarily students for master's degree and PhD. We have also a couple of postdocs. We have all diversity of people, overseas students as well as Jewish and non-Jewish, and we are very proud of integrating the diversity of the ecosystem here in our lab. My philosophy of mentoring is to let the student to understand the meaningful of the research and the impact of his research or her research on the patient as well as its own career. My way is to encourage motivation, to encourage curiosity, and to encourage personal interaction, continuous interaction with me and colleagues together, to always crystallize the novelty of the research, the impact of the research. And with that, I'm always trying to push my great students forward. I think the university has multiple impacts on the area. First of all, it brings different people, I would say, from all over the city, including outside the country, to the Negev, which encourage diversity and disparity of the people around here. And I'm happy to say that at least a fraction of those people that immigrates to Beersheba eventually stays here in the Negev, and it's really nice to see the diversity and the new cities around here. In addition to that, I think the university has overall continuous impact by promoting young students, including kids in schools, to come to the university, to be exposed to the science and to the research, and therefore I think it has an impact in promoting education into this environment.
The lab is actually divided to two parts. One part is the biological area, which we have all the equipment needed for biological research, and it's obviously included the 3D printers. We have two, one which is relatively new, and the other one has an incubator. So that's the biological part. And then we have the material side, which we have two printers, one an FDM, a regular one, and the other one is for composites, and then we can develop new materials. In the lab, we can print from simple polymers, which are plastic, to composites, which are based on polymers, but we adding additives, which will improve the properties in general. We want to improve the mechanical properties, we want to improve the integration with the body. So we have an idea of a couple of materials that we can insert into the polymer and actually to create a composite. So we are developing our own materials for printing, and then we actually printing them. And in the biological side, we are focusing on creating some sort of compositions of organic materials, which will be only from human, with the goal to actually take from the patient itself those materials in the future, and then we can print something which is really patient specific.
One thing that we are recently achieved is that we developed a biosensor that can use for diagnostics and can indicate which patient more likely to respond to immunotherapy. This is kind of a game changer in the field because there is a race of finding good biomarkers that will be able to select which patient should get the treatment, because the treatment has some aberrant effect, side effects which can be very aggressive, and selecting the people for the treatment is critical. So together with Angel Porcador, we develop biosensors, and we are hoping that will achieve a major milestone in the lab. For myself, I want to be among the leaders in the field of head and neck cancer therapeutics. I think I want my students to be healthy, mentally healthy, and succeed. I want to grow to be able to provide my students skills that enable them to succeed in their own career in the future.
In our lab, we have several collaborations. We have collaborations with hospitals like Ichilov and Soroka. Those collaborations are focusing on understanding what the surgeons need, what they want from the implants or the medical devices. And I think that helps us actually fabricate or understand better of how to develop the new implants or device. If the patient has a tumor, then you model the area of the tumor. The surgeons decide where they need to cut, and then we know the gap. And then we take this gap, focus on designing how the implants will look like. And we're doing it according to the size and shape of the patient itself. So we are working on the shape. It will have holes inside, like a sponge, and that's called the lattice. And we are actually doing research on those lattices. One of our projects in collaboration with Ichilov Hospital is that we're trying to understand this specific structure. This is called the lattice structure. As you see, it has holes in it. So if we want to create some sort of implants that will replace a bone and help with the reconstruction, then we need to think about how bones behave. First of all, they need to be with the proper mechanical properties. So they need to hold the weight of the body, they need to stand the stresses walking or running are creating on the leg. So we are studying those lattices and we try to understand which lattice will be the best for the mechanical properties and also for osteointegration, which means the bone will like it and will actually grow inside.
Definition of success for me is to feel good about yourself and to feel that the outcome of the research has eventually an impact on patients.
This process is very difficult, and someone who believes in you, who knows that you can succeed, this is very important to have a very supportive environment. So I'm trying to give good feedback to my students when they have good ideas. Also, they know what is disappointment because it's part of the process. So after the disappointment and after resolving the issue, I think they should know that this is a really good job that they did.
I will feel good and I will feel success if one of whatever I will develop in the lab will really impact cancer patients.